Great to be with you today. What a great group here, the Pachyderm Club. You guys do a fabulous job. You guys rock. Way to go. This is the best. We ought to do one of these in every city in the state. Can you guys branch out? You know, if you could. You guys do an excellent job of getting people together. Franchise it. There you go. That's a good Wichita term. Wichita's done a lot of nice franchising of people. Just got the Lieutenant Governor walking by, Dr. Jeff Collier. He's right there. Jeff, good to have you out for it as well. And let's see, we got a whole bunch of other people. What I want to do is make a few comments. I've got some overheads because I think the pictures really do tell speak 1,000 words on this. If you can see just a few of these pictures of where Kansas has been and where we're headed to, I think will really help out. There's a lot of disinformation out there. I know you'll be surprised about that there's disinformation, but I want to show you the pictures of the facts so people can get a chance to see those. By the way, I thought Paul Ryan did a nice job last night on the vice presidential debate. And some of you should have met him previously. He worked in my office for 3 years. He was my legislative director, was in Wichita several times. So I think we ought to have him back as Vice President of the United States and him supporting the aviation industry, not attacking the aviation industry. Would be a nice thing. The President isn't into that debate 20 minutes the other night. He's attacking the business aviation industry, which is core for us and is a great American export story. And the President keeps attacking it. We just keep saying, stop it, please. You got the best business aviation product ever in aviation in Air Force One. You got a great business aircraft that you get to use. And these connect people. 90% of our airports around America don't have commercial service to it. So if you got 90% of your airports that don't have commercial service, what's the object of having them? You got to be able to get in and out of them, and that's the business aviation that we produce, which has been an industry that we've had difficulty with. So I'm hopeful that they're going to start letting up on this. I have my. I hope you guys can all get a tie like this sometime in the future. It's a kick the can down the road tie. It's a person kicking a can with dollars and euro signs on it, and it's time to stop kicking the can down the road, so we start addressing the problems that we have today in the United States and across the world. I will have to apologize to all KU fans. First 2 days of this week I wore a purple tie. By accident, well, not really. I'm really cheering for them. This is going to be a tough week against Iowa State. I'm going to the West Virginia game. They've been after me to come out and campaign for the Republican governor nominee for governor in West Virginia. They wanted me to come out and campaign for him, and I kept going, I'm not sure if I can get away, and this and that. And then I said, well, there is one day I could come. And it's this Friday next week that I could be there. And they said, well, that'll work. I'm there. I'll be in West Virginia campaigning for the Republican nominee for governor and at the game the next day. Geno Smith is phenomenal. The guy's not had an interception this year. Against Baylor, he had more TD passes than incompletes. So it's going to be, and you got the top two runners for the Heisman right now will be playing in that game. So Colin Klein is a fabulous young man, homeschooled out of Colorado. That's K-State quarterback, and then Geno Smith is just a phenomenal athlete. I think he throws his passes by video games. He just got a joystick and he's going like this at the places because they're really spot on the mark. Let me get into this, and then, like I said, I want to try to take comments and questions from people at the end of it. Big election cycle in the state of Kansas, big changes needed in the state of Kansas, and we're putting those forward. We need to get on a growth agenda, and the first slide I want to show you is a slide I do not accept. It is factually accurate, but I do not accept this slide. All right? This is a slide of Kansas's population ranking for the country. This is where we rank this population. You can see in 1970, we were the 28th most populous state in America. Kind of right in the middle of the pack. We are now at 33rd most populous state. We've dropped 5 places in population ranking, headed to 35th by 2020, 36th by 2030. I do not accept that line. We are not cast in concrete that we have to drop from the 33rd most populous to the 35th most populous. But if we stay doing what we're doing right now, and we don't break our trend line, that's where we're headed. This is where we're headed. If we stay on the trend line we're on. And I got 30 years of data to show you that the trend line we've been on has not been a good trend line, and we need to get off of this trend line. We need to get on a growth trend line. We have been the highest tax state in the region for some period of time. Okay, of all our surrounding states, Kansas, if you go look at all the surrounding states, we've been the highest tax state in this region. Consequently, we lose people to every surrounding state but Nebraska, and we've started losing to Nebraska the last couple of years. I don't think we need to do that either. But you got to change these trend lines, and you got to get your problems under control, and you got to get in a pro-growth strategy, creating jobs, because people go where there are jobs. Just a basic human need is, I need the job. I'm going to go where there's the most jobs that I can get paid the best at. And that's what people end up doing. Now, Jeff and I, we had a lot of problems we had to deal with when we came into office. We started off the fiscal year with $876.05 on hand. That was where we started, $876.05. I was impressed with the accountancy ability of the prior administration to be able to account a $14 billion budget and get it down to $876.05 because you can't go into deficit spending. That's really good. That's like having a quarter left in your bank account and you didn't overdraw, and you're going, I got a quarter. And that's the equivalent of where we were. 2 budget cycles later, we just ended this last fiscal year with $500 million cash on hand. Actual $500 million cash on hand. We did that without raising taxes, and then we did it the standard way that you do is you grow, and then you don't spend the money that's coming in. We had about a 7% increase in state receipts, and we kept flat, actually held down overall state spending. And we did that protecting core government functions like education, public safety, and Medicaid. We said we're going to protect these 3 areas. Everything else we're going to look at and see places that we can cut, that we can reduce, anything that we can do that's not in core government functions. We're going to look at any way we can reduce these areas. But core government functions we're going to protect, and we've increased funding in 2 of those categories, and in Medicaid, all 3 of those categories we increased spending. We've dealt with our pension system. Our pension system, thankfully, Illinois was there, because Illinois had the least funded public pension system in the country, and we were second. So I'm glad Illinois was there. But that's not any place to be. So we changed that system around for new people coming in, and it's kind of a modified defined contribution system on a go-forward basis, so it's something that we'll be able to afford. We took Medicaid into an integrated care system. Dr. Collier led that charge, so that we're going to save about $1 billion over 3 years, and we're not going to cut anybody off of Medicaid. Nobody will be cut off of Medicaid, and we're not cutting provider benefits. But you're going to get a better integrated system, and we've already got the contracts, the 3 contracts with the entities to hold that spending down for those. So those are areas that we're working on aggressively. We're working on education, and we've done more on technical education. We're finding if you're in high school in Kansas and you want to take a college technical education course, the state of Kansas will pay for it. As we need more welders, we need more people that have a skill, we need more people that are IT, we need more certified nurse assistants, we need people that have a skill. I just came from a homeless vet project here in Wichita, and they're hosting a number of people, local, unfortunately homeless vets, and I'm talking with people, and a lot of them saying, look, I need a job. And I'm talking with people and say, yes, you do. And have you thought about getting more skill training? Because if you're a diesel mechanic, I was in Goodland at the technical school, they had 50 kids in the class. They had one employer come out and offer to hire everybody in the class, all 50 of them. And some of these are about $50,000 a year starting, or close to there in that category. And I said to this one guy there, I said, have you thought about going back to technical school? He said, I hadn't been employed since 2009. I said, you need to get a skill. And you've got ways that we can pay for this. You're a veteran. We will pay for this. But we've got to get more of our people with skills. And I want to see people work their way through college, not borrow their way through college. You can't do that if you don't have some skill that you're going to be able to sell. It's not like when I went through college, I raised hogs on the farm, put up hay in the summer, and could kind of put it all together. But you got to have more of a skill now to be able to do that. All right, so we got to change our trajectory. BJ, go to the next of these. Here's what we've been doing. This is what I mentioned, where we've been losing people, all the surrounding states. These are the charts: Oklahoma, Missouri, Colorado, Nebraska. This is net. These are people walking with their feet. This is net resident migration in the region. We've been losing every surrounding state except Nebraska. Last 2 years we had lost to Nebraska. They joined the Big Ten. I don't care about Nebraska anymore. I don't want to lose people in Nebraska. All right, let's go to the next slide of this. This is average annual private sector employment growth. I don't know if you can adjust that down a little bit, but I just want to show this to you. This is job growth. The key one to look at is the far left side there for you. That's Kansas job growth, 0.4%. The adjacent states, 3%. Texas, 17% job growth. Now, where do you think people are going to go if you got that kind of situation taking place? We've got to create more jobs here. We're not creating as fast as a region. We're not creating as fast as Texas. Now, Texas is the bright star. And I love beating Texans, and I presume there are some native Texans here in the room. But we haven't been beating them. And we've been losing a lot of people to Texas. I'll show you the last chart on that in a minute here. You did go to the next one here. All right, so some people said, again, if you can kind of scroll that down so people can look at the top line. Some people said, all right, what's your strategy for growing jobs in Kansas? Some people have said you should increase government spending. That will increase government jobs. And we'll train more people, and we'll train them better, and they will be able to create more jobs. Okay, that's a lot of times you'll hear that strategy from the Democrats. We need to put more government spending out there, and that's going to create more jobs and more opportunities. This is growth in Kansas government spending, 1975 to the present. So this is over 35 years of data. You can see almost a continuous growth in Kansas government spending. Has that worked as a job creation strategy? You can see for the first time we've nicked it down this past year. That hasn't worked for a strategy for us as a state. Next chart. So people said, okay, we should put more money in K-12 spending. We have a better educated student force. They'll be better trained. They'll be able to get more jobs. That'll create a better body of people that can work, and that will create more jobs for us. You can see long-term growth in K-12 spending. You know, really, you're going from about 5 to 7 billion. Then it dipped down in the 08 crisis, and you can see that uptick in K-12 spending. That would be the Brownback-Collier years in increasing K-12 spending. Just to put a note in here that we have increased K-12 spending. During my administrations, the 2 budget cycles that I've had, we've put more money in K-12. I presume you've not heard that, because everybody's been saying you're cutting K-12 spending. We are not cutting K-12 spending. But I also want to put a parenthetical on this. You know what percent of that money gets into the classroom, actually gets into the classroom?
64. Less than 10%.
Less than 10%. You're a little low on that one. About 54% gets to the classroom. 46% is in overhead. 46%, nearly $2.5 billion a year is going to overhead in K-12. I mean, we got to get a lot more of that in the classroom. By state statute, you're to hit 65% of these dollars are to get in the classroom. You know, Walt Chappell's over here on the school board. He's pointed this out before, but man, Walt, you got to get after him a little bit more. This is the school efficiency task force that I just appointed, saying how can we drive more of this money into the classroom? Because that's where everybody agrees it should be, and we are not hitting this mark at all. So my step one is government should be more efficient. We should get more of it into the classroom. This has not worked as a pro-growth strategy for us as a state of Kansas. We've tried cutting property taxes in the past as a state. We've cut them substantially in 1997 and 98. That didn't create jobs for us. So we went to, next slide here. Well, this is K-12 spending in the region. I just want to hit this real quick. The blue line is Kansas. We spend more in the region as a percent of our budget than any surrounding state on K-12, by far. We're the blue line on this. Next slide. So we said, all right, we're going to go to a pro-growth strategy. We're going to cut income taxes. I can put, and we'll show you the modeling of what this says. It'll create of jobs and residents in the state of Kansas, creating jobs through this pro-growth strategy. Basically what we did, cut overall income tax rates from 6.45 to 4.9. We went from the highest tax state in the region to second lowest. Colorado is still lower than we are. And we put a small business accelerator on this. We took to zero the income tax on all LLCs, sub-S's, and sole proprietorships. So any income under LLCs, sub-S, sole proprietorship, zero income tax. And the reason for that is that's your job creating machine. 3/4 of Kansans either work for themselves or for somebody with 10 or fewer employees. 3/4. So it's the Reagan theory. You want more of something, don't tax it. You want less of something, tax it. So we say, all right, we want more small business. America needs more small business. No tax on it. And this, I want to show you now. Let's go to the projections on this. These are the projections of what it's going to do. Population growth, the top line, it will increase our population growth. Go to the next one. That's based on an increase in job growth. These are projections. This is an economic model, but they are projecting substantial job growth and substantial population increase of these tax cuts, primarily taking the taxes off of small business. And it's exactly what you would think when people look at that in small business going, wow, I'm going to have this much more in my pocket. I've been wanting to buy this piece of equipment. I've been needing to do this, but I haven't had the capital or the ability to do this. I'm now willing to do this. This is the job creation one off of it. These are models. I want to emphasize that again. If we go into a second dip recession, all this stuff's off. If you go into, none of this stuff works if we're in a second dip recession, double dip recession. Now people say, wait, you're going to bust the budget. You're going to have a huge hole in your budget when you cut income taxes. I want to just show you, this is where we've been on receipts through income taxes. All right? You can see the big dip in 2010. This is on individual income tax receipts. Went down with the 2008 crisis, way down. It's been coming back up, projected to dip for 2 years under this plan. This is year one of what's projected under the cuts. Year two was projected to be under the cut. You can see that year two is still above where we were in 2010. Projections, but we think they're solid, still has us above where we were in 2010 before we start growing again in receipts to the state. And it'll be a much more sustainable growth because it's going to be based on a lower taxes. And I want to put a final point here. 9 states in the country have no state income tax, none at all. These are generally the growth-oriented states. And there's a lot of states in the country that have very high taxes. California has very high taxes overall. Maryland has very high taxes. Illinois has very high taxes. And New York has very high taxes. The places, by and large, that have high taxes have the worst budget problems. And the places with low taxes are having less budget problems. Now, why is that? That should be just the opposite. California with high taxes should have a lot more money coming into the treasury, shouldn't they? You got a high tax rate, so you ought to have a whole bunch more money coming in. I don't get it. Why? Let's show the next slide. This is net resident migration from Kansas to Kansas from California and Texas. All right? We lose people to Texas, we gain people from California. I've been in both states many times. I have a son now in San Diego getting a degree in economics. I've had a daughter teaching in Houston. It's much nicer in San Diego than Houston. I don't, no offense to anybody here that grew up or lived in Houston, but Houston can get really hot and humid. And San Diego and Kansas have the same average temperature. We have the same average temperature. My son tells me they hit the median more often than we do, but it's the same average. San Diego is absolutely delightful temperature, probably one of the best, just moderate temperature places. And so why on earth would we get people from California and lose them to Texas? Why would California have more budget problems than what they're experiencing in Texas? That doesn't make any sense, does it? Except people act economically rational. And they go where they have better opportunities. And they create more opportunities where they have opportunities. And you get more sales tax going when you don't take the money off of people on income taxes because they have more money to spend. This will work for us as a state of Kansas. And I just want to finish on this. If we don't have to do this, and you can just kind of keep going the way we've been going. But I've got 30 years of data to show that we will continue to decline relative to the rest of the country on economic ability and population. We really need to change the trajectory of this state. And that's what we are doing, and this will work. And we've got to get people back to work, and we've got to provide them opportunities, and we've got to go private sector jobs instead of public sector jobs. That's the way for us to do this. And we're going to make it. We're going to make it happen. And it's going to happen here in your state, and we're going to need you to help us get people elected this fall. That can help continue and to sustain this momentum because we need to get that income tax rate on down. And for us to be able to grow and prosper. And we need to rebuild our family structure in this state too. And I just want to put that as a parenthetical. We really, our culture is important. And we need to have this good, solid, family-based culture. And I really hope we can do that as a culture, not as a government, but as a culture supporting that set of values and beliefs as well. God bless you all. Thanks for being out here today.